What's the point of all this preparedness? I mean, on big events that could happen, we're all gonna die anyways. Nuclear war, we're all dead. Global pandemic, we're all dead. So what's the point of even attempting to prepare for it? This is an argument that I've heard far too many times by not just people that don't prep, but by even those that are preppers or call themselves that. And it's something that I want to address today. Thank you all for watching. My name is Travis, and this is Set Apart Homestead. You know, it is something. It was just the other day. Sorry, I'm sitting on a log here, and it's kind of wobbling. The other day I was online. It was some group, some preparedness group. Someone was asking some question about, you know, what to stock up on in case of something like a, nuclear war. A couple of guys piped in and said, well, it doesn't matter anyways, we're all going to be toast, when that happens, so what's the point of preparing for it? We're all going to die. That's not necessarily true. And that's, the same case with many other scenarios that would be considered a massive national disaster or global disaster. On the apocalyptic level. Global pandemics, nuclear war, the Yellowstone volcano erupting, things like that. Massive climate change, and I know that's a term no one likes, but something like a mini ice age happening again, or something like that happened back in the 1700s. Would a lot of people die? Yeah, it's going to happen. In fact, there are certain scenarios that have statistics of upwards of 70 to 80% casualties in large amounts of areas. But it's survivable. So don't fall for that argument that, well, it doesn't matter about... Hold on, a stick hit me in the back of the head. I picked a horrible spot to make a video. Don't fall for that argument that, well, some things are just too big of a disaster to survive anyways, so what's the point of, being prepared for it? Maybe just prepare for, like, small things. Don't worry about the big stuff because you're all going to die anyways. The people that are going to die are the ones that, are closest to the, epicenter of whatever happens, and those that are just not prepared. But if you're prepared, and you're lucky enough to not be in the center of all of it, you actually have a pretty good chance of surviving. Let's talk about nuclear war for an instance. I am not necessarily an expert. I was trained in chemical, nuclear, and biological terrorism and things like that, and I've done a lot of reading on it, but I certainly would not consider myself an expert. But while it is bad, one bomb, several bombs are bad. It is survivable. I think too many times, I've been thinking, I've got a couple of videos other than this one that's going to kind of surround it, around the idea of those of us that are preparedness preppers, homesteaders, self-sufficient, whatever, how much of the, trying to think of the right word to use, how much of what we're doing and the idea of what we're doing is based upon what we've learned off of TV Hollywood, which may be cool and at times may even be educational, but most of the things that Hollywood puts out are grossly exaggerated or just flat out not true. And so there's a lot of, apocalyptic type of movies that I'm sure, many of you, if not all of you, have watched at least some of them. And we've seen these ones where, there was a nuclear war and, the whole planet is now unlivable. It's one big desert. Every organic matter, other than a few handful of humans, died, and, because there's no food, we're eating each other and, just crazy stuff. Those are extremely extreme scenarios. Just to give you, kind of wrap your head around nuclear war. The United Nations, they're commissioned to kind of control or oversee, you know, the proliferation of nuclear bombs and stuff. They say that since 1945 that there have been almost 2,100 nuclear bombs, devices, or something like that that have been test exploded on this planet. So now I understand that not all those were really, really large. Some of them were fairly good size, and they were all detonated in unpopulated areas. But the point is that we're talking nearly 2,100 nuclear bombs have been detonated already on this planet in the last 70, 80 years. And we're all still alive. You know, you hear people, well, if the blast doesn't kill you, the fallout will kill you, and the nuclear winter will kill you, and all this kind of stuff. Those things can happen, and I'm not discounting them. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying that it's survivable. There were actual stories out of Japan when we dropped the A-bombs in there, that there were people that were actually quite close to the, where the bomb went off that survived. They were in shelter somehow, and they did survive it. The point is that don't buy into this argument that, global pandemic, some kind of global pandemic, flu virus, zombie virus, or whatever is going to be so bad that humanity is not going to survive it. And so because of that there's no point in me even making an attempt to prepare for it. I can really only think of a few scenarios where humanity would just go extinct. And it's not really biblical anyways. Apocalyptic type stuff is biblical, but all of humanity just dying off is not biblical. If a massive asteroid hit the planet, the sun goes supernova, something like that, yeah, it's going to end all life on the planet. But, even the Yellowstone volcano erupting, a lot of people would die. Lots of people would die, but it's survivable, especially if you're prepared and obviously not living near Yellowstone. So let's go back to, because nuclear war is definitely something that's on people's minds a lot. A lot of you probably lived through parts of the Cold War, and you see the buildup of threats of that now between us and several other nations. It kind of looks like we're, going into another Cold War. Not that it probably really ever ended, but that's a, subject for another video. So, that's definitely on everyone's minds a lot, especially preppers, is something like that. Well, yeah, if you live in an area where it could possibly be a prime target, high population area near an important military, complex or something, that's probably not a good place to live. If you live outside of Washington, D.C. or New York area, L.A. area, places like that, you're probably, not in a good spot. But there are there's much more places that are going to be okay. Now, there's different maps that kind of tell you, for all these different scenarios, which, earthquakes, volcanoes, nuclear war, and you can find these of where it would spread and which would be the danger areas and which would not. And there's ones that, almost contradict each other and that kind of stuff. The point is that, especially for you new people out there, don't let others, get you into that trap of, well, it's okay to, prepare for like an ice storm, or it's okay to prepare for a hurricane or a tornado, or, losing your job. But it's ridiculous to prepare for, the end of the world as we know it, because most scenarios, we're all going to die anyway, so what's the matter? That's not true. I mean, it's just flat out not. And don't fall for that. Human beings are an extremely resilient species. I've made the statement before, and I stand by it, that modern humans have become very weak, soft, pacifistic, that sort of thing. Not everyone. I'm just speaking in general terms. But as a species, we're very resilient. And if you look throughout our history, we have gone through, at different times of human history, we have gone through some quite, massive things. Maybe not necessarily on a global level, and certainly not something like, nuclear war, which would involve, if it was global, it would involve maybe, many places and many countries. But we still have gone through a lot of hardship, a lot of trials, a lot of things that we would look back on and say, man, how in the world could humanity, or how in the world could at least those people in that area survive that? And they did. They did it because of their mindset. Go look that video up. They had that survival mentality. So those types of scenarios, those massive global apocalyptic, the end of the world as we know it, SHTFs, are survivable. Pretty much the only ones that humanity wouldn't survive, it probably, you wouldn't even know it. The sun going supernova, well, everyone's gonna be fried within seconds anyway, so that kind of stuff. But nuclear war, well, if you live in the the right places where you're not near an area that someone would possibly strike, and if you're prepared for it, it is survivable. Volcanic eruptions, massive earthquakes, global pandemics, these types of scenarios are survivable. You may have to do different things for the different scenarios, but if you focus on just being prepared in general, you will find that you become prepared for all of these things. Many people, they have this fear of, global flu and everyone dying, so that's just what they focus on preparing for. I advise to not do that. Just become prepared, be prepared in general, be a Boy Scout, and when you do that, then you're prepared for everything. And there may be certain equipment and certain things that are specific to, each different scenario, but the point is just don't find yourself falling for that argument that, well, no one's going to survive that anyways, we're all going to die, you're either going to get fried when the bomb goes off, or you're going to die in, nuclear winter anyway, so who cares? Don't fall for that. There are, like I said, there's lots of, things in the past that we can look to where humans did survive, and with the amount of testing that's been done on the planet already, we can see that just by, detonating these devices, and I know there's a lot of people like, yeah, but those aren't the really big ones that we have. I get it. But between us, Russia, and the few other countries that have them, there have been almost 2,100 detonated. So we all survived those, and again, you look at Hollywood when they show it, and they make it look like, hey, a nuclear bomb is big and devastating, but they make it look like that half of the United States just got annihilated because one went off, and that's not how it works. Do some research and kind of learn it, that even the really big ones, there may be an EMP because of them, but the really big ones, the actual destruction zone, it's not, we're not talking thousands of square circle of miles, that kind of stuff. So again, it was just something that I've heard in the past, and then it came up. I saw it on a kind of a prepper group online forum type thing the other day. I'm not going to name names or anything, and I thought, that's just ridiculous. Do not have that mentality that, well, we're all going to die anyway, so what's the point of trying to prepare for it? You can survive. Most all scenarios, if you're prepared and you're fortunate enough to not live in the epicenter of where it happens, are survivable. So, just don't fall for that. Alright, that's about all I have for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.